The challenges of Vietnamese society are wider than only pollution and traffic jams. There are the obvious conflicts of communities developing at different speeds. And there is the generation gap between those who have survived wars and economic isolation that preceded the perestroika, in Vietnamese called Doi Mui, and their children who are waking up to a very capitalistic interpretation of socialism. Next to these developmental issues, less visible but just as important, is the plight of the indigenous minorities that populate the Vietnamese countryside. Officially, more than 54 distinctly different tribes are recorded. Most often regarded as primitive mountain people, they have a hard time coping with the intrusions of the ever-expanding Vietnamese population. One lady has made it her mission to give the ethnic minorities a righteous place in society, a legitimate identity and a dignified social status, at a time when Vietnam hardly drew any international attention and NGOs here were almost unheard of. Mrs. Chanti Leng brought a group of enthusiastic professionals around her: biologists, hydraulic engineers, doctors, pharmacists and legal advisors, who help carry out a multitude of projects throughout the country and even over the borders in neighboring Laos. To see them at work and to better understand the projects that they are working on, we follow SPERI on a field trip. Tuan is our guide on this trip. He's a senior SPERI staff member, an agronomist who worked with highland communities in Vietnam and in Laos for almost 10 years. Today, Tuan flies to Luang Prabang to join with the Laotian branch of SPERI, and they will visit some of the projects together. From the sky, Tuan looks out over the rivers, lakes and ponds that shine like 1,000 mirrors in the evening sun. Like everywhere on this planet, water is the crucial element that makes life possible. Ownership over water and land, an issue very much on Tuan's mind right now. In Laos, he will visit SPERI's water system projects, and he will be faced again with the harsh reality of competing interests from the government, local immigrants and the minority groups over land and water resources. Therefore, SPERI, or Chesh Lao as the NGO is called in Laos, has to move cautiously not to increase the already tense situation. SPERI has always regarded culture as a cornerstone for harmony and balance in society. It was therefore a logical choice to put the Chesh Lao headquarters in Luang Prabang, an acknowledged World Heritage Site. In Luang Prabang, every morning starts with a food offering to the temple monks, a tradition that is over 1,000 years old. It would be hard to imagine just what would happen to the citizens of Luang Prabang if this ancient tradition were to be suddenly abolished. The effects would be devastating to Laotian society indeed. But this is exactly the challenge for most of the communities that SPERI is helping. They have all seen their traditions crumble gradually, and as a result their entire social identity came to the brink of disintegration. Much of the rest of the day, Tuan stays with his team to prepare the visits of the next days to come. From the discussion, it is quickly clear that Tuan didn't come to Laos for tourism. Another day, another road. Not only hill tribe minorities are impacted by the effects of new roads cutting through their territory. The first project on Tuan's agenda is a Laotian village called Cheng Da. This village has been dealt a very bad hand by history. Half a century ago, American bombs destroyed the village and sent the survivors fleeing into the surrounding jungle. The village structure never really recovered, and until recently the people here were little more than a loosely tied group that squatted together in makeshift houses trying to survive. Had Cheng Da been a well-organized community, then they could have taken advantage of the new road passing through their village. But instead, Cheng Da was left defenseless. When a Chinese cement factory opened nearby, the villagers left their houses, sold off their fields, and offered themselves as cheap workforce against barely minimum wages.
But the problem is now the factory cannot sell out their product because they cannot compete in the market, so they have to reduce the number of the workers. However, when the villagers or workers they go back to their village, they do not have a farm to do anymore. So they generally to become unemployment because they already sold their land before they enter to the factory.
From what we heard about Cheng Da's history, we had expected a rundown settlement. Instead, the village is tidy, the houses are beautiful, and the atmosphere is very hospitable.
Đây là chiếc cầu là được đóng góp bởi người dân ở trong bản cũng như là những cái người dân ở chỗ khác. Trước đây là không có cái cầu này và xung quanh đây là rất là bẩn. Bởi vì tất cả phân trâu, phân bò, phân gà là được đổ hết xuống đây. Nhưng bây giờ thì người dân đã nhận thức ra được cần phải bảo vệ cái môi trường, cần phải có một cái môi trường sạch. Và chính vì vậy mà họ đã đóng góp tiền để xây dựng cái con cầu này, những cái cầu này. This pagoda was absent for almost 20 years. It was totally destroyed. From 1960 to 2000 because of American bomb, and during that time, Singda villagers also have to flee to somewhere, into the cave and some in the forest. So they did not care about their pagoda anymore. So it means their religion, the Buddhist religion, were absent in the mind, in the heart of the Singda people for almost 25 years. And yeah, it's a very beautiful. And also the tree over there also is protected. And before 2000, you know, surrounding here, sorry Buddha, but very dirty. Because the people come here and peace around here. And they don't care about the big tree and they don't care about something in the pagoda anymore because I said before, the religion of the Singda people was already destroyed.
The abbot is proudly showing his temple to Tuan. Even though modest in size and decoration, the temple has brought a tremendous change in the life of the villagers of Cheng Da. Its restoration has also restored the mindset of the villagers. It has given them a renewed sense of identity and pride.
หน้าธรณีเนี่ยมันอยู่ในพื้นดินพุ่นเลยเพิ่นพลาดออกมาแล้วมันนั่งมันยืนอยู่ต่อหน้ามันยืนต่อหน้าแล้วมันเอานั้นมือนั้นหูดจ่าที่ท่านทำมือหูดพุ่มตกลงน่ะชาขี้ดินนั่นผ้าเป็นน้ำแม่ท่วมไปหมดน้ำอันนั้นน้ำพุ่มท่วมอันพวกที่มันมาลาบีที่มาฆ่าอันพระพุทธองค์น่ะพระพุทธเจ้าน่ะ
Thank you.
Maybe the good abbot should not have spoken so lightly about the water spirit Torani. When we returned to Chengda the next day to film an important ceremony, Torani was showing her powers. In a way, the rain is a good omen, almost a present from heaven. Because today, monks from all over the province come to Chengda to chant blessings for the surrounding forest. This may be a spiritual ceremony, but it also has an important administrative purpose. It is a crucial step in the protection of the environment of Chengda. Laotians are highly superstitious and they will think twice before cutting lumber in a sacred forest. While guests and officials arrive, women bring in food for everybody. The villagers are now ready for the ceremony. The connection between the people, the spirits and the environment is emphasized by long strings of silk thread that pass through the hands of all participants. The monks start chanting their mantras. The rhythmic prayers resonate over the crowd and float out over the temple grounds, like a protective blanket of sacred words. The chanting continues. The villagers gradually lose concentration while the monks sink deeper into trance. The head monk now starts off a long sermon in which he blesses the forest and tells the people to behave respectfully towards nature and to their environment. The wise words of the monk are heard all over the village. After the temple ceremony, a small group of villagers climbs up to the forest for the final part of the ceremony.
เจ้าเป็นผู้ใหญ่ไม้นี่มันจะใหญ่คือเจ้าอันนี้แม่นเฮามามัดต้นไม้มื้อนี้เนาะมื้อนี้เป็นมื้อดีแม่นเฮามาเริ่มต้นมัดต้นไม้เพื่อว่ารักษาต้นไม้นี้ให้ต้นไม้นี้เป็นยาเพื่อว่าเป็นมูลมรดกรักษาไว้ให้ลูกให้หลานสืบต่อไปเฮามัดต้นไม้นี้แม่นแสดงให้ประชาชนรู้จักว่าเฮาเอาผ้าเรื่องนี้หมายความว่าแม่นวัดแม่นสิ่งศักดิ์สิทธิ์เพื่อว่าประชาชนลาวนี่มันนับถือศาสนาพุทธเนาะถ้าว่าเฮามามัดต้นไม้นี้แล้วก็จะบ่มีคนจะมาทำลายต้นไม้นี้แม่นว่าต้นไม้นี้มันมัดแล้วที่ไปทำลายละลานี่มันบ่ให้ทำลายอันนี้มันรักษาไว้ให้มันเป็นยารักษาเป็นส่วนยา
จนจะเป็นไปเอาส่งต่ออันเดอร์กุ้งใหญ่มันต่อกันเอา
เพิ่นว่านี่มันต้นไม้ศักดิ์สิทธิ์ต้นไม้เป็นยาว่าซั่นมาพัดมาพูกนี่เลยบัดเนี่ยให้เป็นยาแก้วยาทิพย์ได้ปวดพยาธิบาดเหยาได้ก็ข้อมันฟังมันให้มันหอมมันดีเลยให้มันเค็ดมันย่ำเลยใส่วันให้มาใส่ยาให้ถึงได้บัดเนี่ยมา
Will religion and a few beautiful symbols be enough to stop the decline of this forest? We can only pray and hope that people will understand.
บัดเนี่ยมามัดใบไม้ไว้นี่ได้บัดเนี่ยมันเป็นว่านเป็นยาได้บัดเนี่ย
The first part of the mission is completed. The next stop on our trip brings us deep in the Laotian mountain forests. We are to meet a clan from the Huang tribe. But on the way up, we want to stop at another village where SPERI is active. Less than 10 years ago, this road ran through a densely forested area. In the last years, new settlers moved in, clearing the forest and building houses on both sides of the road. These activities are a challenge for the environment, But they also are a challenge for the indigenous forest inhabitants. We visit Nam Ka, a village of the Khmu tribe.
Và cái bản Khmu này ấy, thì trước năm 2003 thì hầu như không được ai biết đến, kể cả những cán bộ và chính quyền địa phương. Sau Chu Hoang Can, Hà Nội.
This village used to be in the middle of the forest. Now it can easily be reached, and the villagers have had to adapt to a new reality.
Dự án đến thì với cái sự hỗ trợ của cái chương trình của dự án thì người dân bắt đầu tiếp cận với cái chương trình nước sạch với cái bản SCUBA, và sau đấy là họ có cơ hội được đi tham quan và chia sẻ kinh nghiệm với rất nhiều nơi khác nhau, kể cả Việt Nam, kể cả ở trong Lào. Và hiện tại bây giờ ấy thì người dân bản Nậm Kha đã có một số hoạt động tương đối là hiệu quả. Cái hoạt động thứ nhất là liên quan đến là cái việc mà làm sao ấy là vận hành cái hệ thống nước sạch. Đồn leo này món đấy kia dài.
The village leader is happy to see Tuan, and curious villagers gather around to meet the visitors. The water supply works both in dry and rainy seasons. Before, villagers had to walk 20 minutes to the nearest river to fetch water. The water availability remains a crucial challenge in the everyday life of the Khmu. With the surrounding settlers building ever more houses and needing ever more water, they fear that they may get cut off from the water supply one day. What would they do if this would happen? Tuan asked the village leader.
Okay, if they come here to take the like water from them, so they don't do anything. Nothing they can do. Yeah, there's nothing they can do.
It is difficult to predict what the future has in store for the Khmu people. Will their culture survive? Will their language survive? What does that language actually sound like? Has anyone ever recorded it? With some persuasion, Tuan can convince an old woman to sing a song in original Khmu language. This song is about a girl singing to her lover. Please come to me, the spicy chili will be sweet, and the bitter eggplant will be like sugar if you come to me. With the sounds of the Khmu love song in his ears, Tuan leaves the village and continues to his last destination, the Hmong people of Long Lan. SPERI had to lobby long and hard to protect the territory of the Hmong people. But in the end, they managed to secure the boundaries of the Long Lan ecological village and its surrounding forest.
Điều này là những tóm tắt quy chế của bản Long Lan. Rồi. Có gồm có 6 điều.
Rồi. Điều thứ nhất là gì em?
Điều thứ nhất là họ cấm không cho những người đi chặt gỗ ở đất Long Lan. Rồi. Điều thứ hai là cấm không cho người vào rừng để săn bắn thú rừng. Là điều thứ ba là không được đi đổi con nai hay là con lưới rừng, mọi thứ ở trong rừng.
Cái điều số 2 và điều số 3 giống nhau.
Cái số 3 là những cái sản phẩm trong rừng.
Sản phẩm trong rừng.
Finally, we arrive in the Hmong village, well hidden in the midst of a magnificent forest. The Hmong welcome Tuan warmly, and they are dressed in their traditional clothing in honor of the visitors. Tuan explains the purpose of the presence of the film crew and expresses his happiness to see them all dressed up and beautiful. The Hmong are a proud people with a long history and different clans that have spread out from China over all of Southeast Asia, and, as a result of the Vietnam War, also to the US and Canada. It is exactly thanks to their strong cultural consciousness that the Hmong worldwide still feel united by one common, well-defined identity. They are less shy than any of the other tribes we have visited before, and proudly show us their skills and traditions.
Đây là một cái lễ hội gọi là lễ hội ném còn của người Mông, cái lễ hội truyền thống thường được tổ chức sau cái dịp thu hoạch vào tháng 11 của người Mông ở bản Long Lăn. Và đây là một cái dịp rất tốt để cho những cái chàng thanh niên và những cô gái là có cơ hội được gặp nhau, được nói chuyện và được tỏ tình thông qua cái việc là ném còn thế này. Và thường người ta ném còn thế này thì người ta có những cái điệu múa hoặc là những câu hò hoặc là những cái điệu hát để tỏ tình với nhau.
The Hmong are who they are, self-confident, clever, and ready to stand up for their rights. The chief explains that they regularly have to defend those rights because outsiders frequently intrude into the Hmong territory. SPERI is helping them defend their territorial rights.
The total area of the Long Lan village over 8,000 hectares. And 8,000 hectares of land and forest are divided into different proposed zones. Here is this color. This color is an area for raising animals, mostly cow. And here is a watershed area to protect the water and to maintain the water for all the village consumption. And here is a protected forest. All the color here, the protected forest here and here. And here's a used forest. People can come here to collect like a bamboo to make their house or to collect a vegetable for their eating.
On the map, the highest point is a hilltop next to the village, a perfect spot to get an overview of the area. This is Hmong country, and it is worth defending. The Hmong were here from before the American-Vietnam War. They have survived many adversaries, and they are not about to give up now. Back in the village, the Hmong have not finished showing their skills. This is a Hmong version of the blues, played to attract lovers or to show their longing for unobtainable love. The Hmong are said to communicate with their windpipe music. They have different tunes for greeting people, for talking to lovers, and for mourning dead ones. This was the last of Tuan's visits to SPERI's projects in Laos. Night falls when he leaves back for Luang Prabang, and while the sun sets over the magnificent Long Lan mountainside, Tuan reflects on the projects. One thing is sure, Working for SPERI, he is contributing to the preservation of some of the most unique cultural and natural heritages of this planet. It is a long and slow process, with many frustrations and setbacks. At the same time, it is also one of the most noble and admirable goals anyone can wish for to achieve in this life.